Stay connected. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.
Ringers off on the cell phones, please. A lot harder for me to mute you here than online. Not impossible, just more challenging. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have 3 public hearings before we start the common council meeting of July 20, 2021. First public hearing, Fire Department Cost Recovery Program, and public hearing is officially open. There is nobody on the sign-up sheet to speak to this. Is there anybody present that did not have the opportunity to sign up? Leave the public hearing open for approximately 1 minute. Second call, public hearing. Anybody present to speak on the Fire Department Cost Recovery Program? This is about responding to MVAs, other incidents where there is an opportunity to recoup costs. And third and final call, is there anybody present to speak for our first public hearing? Hearing none, we'll call the public hearing officially closed. And open the second public hearing, which is closing a section of Alvina Avenue. Public hearing is officially open. There was a very nice community meeting with the hospital. And the hospital detailed their plans in terms of not just the closure, but the improvements to the parking lot. And a nice addition, increased pedestrian safety, which is absolutely crucial. Public hearing is officially open. And we have Troy and Michelle Rodden here to speak to this. And I ask if you can come forward, and at the podium there's a microphone. Try to stay close to the microphone, please. And the floor is yours.
We're at 26, so we are right there. We're going to be the last house on the street. My biggest concern is not closing the street, it's the setback for the closure. At the meeting last week, it was said that the city could still plow snow into that 10 feet. I don't know how our driveway would be usable if there's only 10 feet, especially in the winter. The road itself is about 24.5 feet wide. There's a 10-foot setback, but there's also a portion of that setback that is decreased from the actual road width. So, backing out is going to be virtually impossible, especially with how much snow. There's not enough room in this plan to have driving right now.
So the concern is in a snow event.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there, like I said, there's only 10 feet from the hospital plan set back. I have a normal size SUV. My vehicle is 15 feet long. He's a pickup truck. That's 18 feet long. I don't know how it's going to be feasible for anybody to use that driveway with 10 feet alone, and then given permission.
Yeah, I know that there's a gate directly across from the house that was set back, 50 feet, so that the garbage truck can turn around in there. There's a couple of bus routes too. I'm not sure if Cortland Transit, it's a route they take through there. Cortland City School Bus goes through there. They're going to have to turn around also somewhere. It was, I went to the meeting last Monday. And it just sounds like, they're giving us room, space to back up there, but it sounds like they want to put snow there still too, so I don't know how we can do both. So that's our concern.
I mean, there's definitely, they have the space, they have the land to move that setback back. They might lose 4 parking spots, but all of the parking spots that they are gaining with all of their renovations, they're not gonna miss those spots. I just really think we need to look at that plan, those dimensions, for the neighbors that have been there before this was in place.
Okay. Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
And then, Tim Thompson, are you here for this or for the public comment?
Public comment.
Public comment, very good. Is there anybody else here present that would like to speak regarding a closure of a portion of Albina Avenue?
Who wants to speak?
This is for Albina Avenue.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, public comment.
Hearing none, we'll call the public hearing officially closed. Third public hearing, rezoning a parcel on River Street. Public hearing is officially open. Looking to hear from, is this Lorraine Fox?
Watch your step.
Good evening. Okay, I live on Kellogg Road. We have the Coffee Mania, not even a block away from River Street. 2 or 3 times a day, it's very congested just at the Coffee Mania. People are trying to go in. People park on Port Watson. Some people park on River Street trying to get in and out and get their coffee. If we're going to have 4 gas tanks on River Street and probably a little grocery store or whatever they're having, it's going to be very congested, and it's only like the Coffee Mania is only like a block away, like I said. And it's going to be twice as bad on River Street because a lot of people come there and they go towards McGraw as well. So it's going to be very congested, and I'm deeply opposed of having it put there.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Watch your step.
So clarification, this is with regard to a potential parcel that is actually landlocked. We're using the address of River Street, but it is landlocked partially behind River, partially behind Port Watson. There's a potential development to go in there between 3 parcels. So public hearing, is there any further comment? Christian, if you'd like to.
Sorry, I didn't realize I thought it was just on mic. You didn't come up. Who does me this?
But I was amazed.
All right, so we have public hearing is opportunity for everybody to speak, and I think we do have, since we have a discussion item on this at the end, ladies and gentlemen, these are representatives from Burned area on the project. I think if we hold until the end and then presenting would be appropriate.
Okay.
So we'll continue to give opportunity for the general public to make comment regarding the potential change in zoning regarding the 1 parcel. Is there anybody present that would like to speak? Going further? Hearing and seeing none, we'll call the third public hearing officially closed. And now, public comments. Public comments, I ask that they are directed to mayor and council directly, that they deal with city business. And I'm going to give a clarification, and I'll continue to give these clarifications at future meetings. If it is regarding city business that is best dealt with during the day, then please reach out to your council member or the mayor or the appropriate department, because waiting a week or potentially 2 weeks to ask for something to be addressed at a council meeting is not very efficient. So public comment, there's an opportunity for people to speak, and we have an individual, Tim Thompson, signed up for public comment.
Where do you start from?
Tim, can you hold on a second?
Sure, no problem.
Corporation Council, thank you.
Anytime.
Been doing this for 10 years and changed the setting from a computer to in reality, and it changes everything off. So the public hearings are officially closed. It is now the time to officially call the meeting to order and ask you to rise if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I am not going to ask you to mute your microphones. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, public comments. Tim Thompson.
We'll try that again. Good evening, everyone. I promise to be brief. My name is Tim Thompson. I work at Tompkins Cortland Community College as the coordinator of diversity and education. I come to you today with a well overdue thank you to the city of Cortland for collaborating with Tompkins Cortland Community College and SUNY Cortland on the previous Juneteenth celebration. As someone who's been in the area for about 10 years now, I've never been able to experience such a great sense of togetherness with so many folks with various backgrounds coming together to celebrate the same cause. And I'd like to give a special thank you to Mayor Tobin and Chief Sandy. There were several times throughout the planning process where we had to pull our sleeves back in relation to planning this event. And you also took the time to make sure we had the resources necessary to pull off such a successful event. So on behalf of Tompkins Cortland Community College and SUNY Cortland, we sincerely thank you.
Thank you. Heard it was well attended and enjoyed by all. Anybody here that would like to speak during public comment? Call public comments closed. Mayor's report. I got two things I'd like to address. I have received a very nice card, and it was a thank you that I wanted to make sure council was apprised of. And this is with regard to the sewer lateral replacement program. And I'm going to omit the individual's name and some other details just to preserve their anonymity. Starts off saying her name, and she's a retired nurse residing at and has had the privilege and good fortune of the replacement water and sewer lines. For this, I wholeheartedly want to thank you, Phil Connery, Dan Haynes, and Toma Development for this wonderful gift. I hope you all know how appreciated you all are. Sincerely, a happy Cortlandite, and a lucky one too. So, we've been working on infrastructure very intensely and diligently for years, and we were able to direct some money to replace water and sewer laterals that goes from the main line to properties. And these are low to moderate income. And it's the kind of thing that we typically don't think about until there's a catastrophic failure. So when the water doesn't go down, it's a problem. So being able to replace these laterals has been a boon for many residents in the city. And council, we appreciate the support that everybody gave in terms of helping to make sure that this program continued to go forward. One more bit I wanted to discuss. Last Friday, we had one of our law enforcement officers retire, and typically we don't talk a lot about when we have employees from the city move on with their retirement. However, Officer Jesse Abbott had served in the community-oriented policing role. And over the last several years, this is a position that was initially established by a grant. And the goal of the position was a face and a presence on Main Street that people can interact with, improving safety and also improving community relations. And as I said, this is something that we undertook, I think it was either 7 or 8 years ago. And Chief Catalano at the time had a difficult decision because we know we've got a number of officers that were well qualified for the position. But he chose Jesse Abbott, and Jesse in the role basically not just defined his responsibilities and how best to interact with the public, but I think he took it to new heights. And he helped to improve our expectation in terms of what we expect of our employees on a number of levels. He was able to engage the public frequently. He helped many people throughout his time. And as I said, it gave us all an opportunity to kind of view law enforcement through a lens that, hey, there's a badge and there's a uniform, but there's a person in that uniform. And in a community such as ours, in a community the size of ours, it's people caring about people that really makes it go. So I wanted to share the well wishes to Jesse in his retirement, to thank him, not just for what he did over his career, but how he helped us all, I think, envision law enforcement and how it can benefit us all. Next up, approval of the minutes from our July 6th meeting. Council, are there any questions or alterations? We have a motion to consider filing the minutes as is from Troy. Do we have a second? Jackie, consideration of the minutes. No issues. All those in favor of filing the minutes as is, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's different looking left and right instead of... Very good. First up, we have an update on infrastructure work in the city, and I believe we have some visitors to help us out. Sure. Very good. So, from BCA Architects, and you've got some things that you want to show to the public.
Yeah, is there a place that's better than?
I would say if you want to go up front, and council members, if you want to scoot around so that you can see. I'm a little bit familiar with this, Troy. I know you are as well.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll set up these and then hold one of them kind of like a Vanna White. I don't play for but
Very good. If you can focus it toward the public, I believe you've got the map included for the council in the packet, so we can follow along. And as I said, council members, if you want to go around to the other side, you're more than welcome to. So this is an update on the Clinton Avenue Public Improvements Projects, Phase 3.
Well, I'm Mike Altieri with BCA Architects and Engineers. I have Jeremy Glenn joining us today. We've probably seen some activity out in Clinton Avenue over the last few months here, needless to say. Things are moving along quite nicely. What we wanted to do today was give you an update on where we started with this, mostly recently with the construction project. It's been a while since we've been able to do this in person for you, so we wanted to fill in some background information and get right up to where we are with construction present day, and fill in any other details and answer your questions, of course, as well. So, just before I let Jeremy take the floor here, the section of road we're talking about is Clinton Avenue all the way from Pomeroy Street to Main Street. So, quite a big chunk of infrastructure. We're looking at complete road reconstruction, complete utility reconstruction, bottom up. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Glenn to go into more detail. He's our Director of Transportation, so.
Go ahead.
I'll be Vanna White from here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Council, for having us today. As Mike mentioned, this Clinton Avenue project's been ongoing for, we're talking about 8 years now, since the initial inception. So being able to see things actually happening out there is exciting, I'm sure, for all of you, and definitely for us as well. Our original contract was bid opening was on October 16th in 2020. We did have 6 qualified bidders at that time. Our apparent low bidder is our contractor on site, G.D. Vincentis & Son. The contract was awarded to them at just over $9 million and was actually awarded on November 18th. The notice to proceed was then issued later in December, right at the end of 2020. Currently, as we stand, we do have a handful of change orders and some additional work that has all been covered by the original contract value. And to date, the contract has submitted 4 pay applications, which have all been approved and paid, to the total of just over $1.5 million. Our construction process, again, on April 1st, we had our off-site detour was implemented, probably to the chagrin of many of you. However, it does provide for a much easier construction opportunity for the contractor on site. Mike is kind of showing the detour plan that's currently in place, which takes us down Pomeroy, across Port Watson, and back up Church Street. So the construction section this season is highlighted in red there. It is from Pomeroy down to the railroad tracks. At the end of this season, they will have completed that. I'm going to say to 95% completion. You will have final asphalt, most of your plantings, striping, and all the subsurface and right up to grade final features in place. And then we will have our winter shutdown, which will probably be around the end of November before they open back up April of next year. Through that section, before we jump into that one, through that section, the contractor has completed to date all of the sanitary sewer and laterals, all of the water main that's included in this project, as well as service laterals. And he is currently working on the storm sewer and catch basins and manholes for the new storm sewer system. DPW, Nick Dovey, BCA, and Cedarwood, the other engineer on the project with us, are working daily with the contractor and all of the local businesses and residents in order to minimize impacts. There are a few important businesses, busy businesses along the corridor, predominantly near Pomeroy, and I think we've done a pretty good job to date of keeping everyone happy and allowing their customers in and out as necessary. So our remaining construction, through the rest of this season, the contractor is going to be working on some bioretention basins, the concrete sidewalk, curb replacement, and all of those, as stated, will be from Pomeroy down to the railroad tracks. And we should have all of that wrapped up, I would say, in October, November timeframe, with the final asphalt going in shortly after that. There is a section of work right at Main Street that we're looking to complete this year. There is a sanitary boring that's going to be going underneath the intersection of Main Street and Clinton Avenue. We're hoping to get that done this season with the impending DRI project to start up next year and the following season. We'd like to get out of that intersection as quick as possible in order to minimize conflict. In next season, the 2022 season, we will continue from the tracks down to Main Street. Again, completing all of our work. Hopefully, what we're told and we're hoping is around the August timeframe. So the project will be substantially complete around August, with most likely some minor punch list items after that. So as Mike is showing there, we do have, that is the detour that will be in place next year. It'll be very similar to what's out there today, going down Port Watson, down Pomeroy, across Port Watson, and then with the DRI project in place, we are kind of utilizing the southbound route of Main Street, northbound route of Church Street, and then alternating one-way traffic on Clinton Avenue through that section. You want to jump to the next one, Mike?
Sure.
So this is kind of our quick little rendering of the section between Church Street and Main Street. And it shows our colored and stamped crosswalks, which will be similar or identical to what you see out there on Pomeroy today. We do have street trees going in this section. There will be precast concrete pavers as well. And we are currently working on a art feature for the current Zonta Garden Island. And then for council and anyone else who's interested, at the back of the packet, I did include a couple of construction photos. And as we scroll through, they are the milling operation, what would happen right at the beginning of the season. There's some storm sewer installation, and then sanitary sewer installation, just to get a feel for what's going on out there currently. That's our full construction update. If you guys have any additional questions regarding Clinton Avenue, we're happy to answer any questions.
I just have, maybe maybe you could just sort of explain to all of us, especially the public, 'cause I've had several people comment on the signage at Clinton and Pomeroy, on the beautiful brickwork. The signs are difficult to see if you're in a vehicle, and I think I know the answer to this, but just so we can let the wider audience know what's going on there, maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So the signage that went in at that intersection is with the phase one of the project, which is actually outside of our jurisdiction. However, I can still answer the question for it. The signage was directed by DOT to be that size font. It is not intended for vehicular consumption. It is strictly for pedestrian use. There's a lot of other signage in the area, and it was their contention that adding some additional wayfinding signage in that area would be confusing to drivers, and so it was intentionally sized like that.
Thank you.
So you said you'll be 95% wrapped up by November this year? Maybe.
With that construction section, yes.
Is there any intentions on opening that road up for the winter season?
Yes, it'll be fully open for the winter. And because we haven't done any construction from the tracks down to Main Street, Clinton Avenue will be fully operational through the winter season. DPW has asked the contractor, and the contractor has agreed to throw a small truing and leveling course down over Clinton Ave from roughly Charles to Main Street to fill in a lot of the potholing and some of the up and down through that section. It's a little rough. Obviously, we know that's going to be redone next year, but we're a little concerned heading through the winter that it may not hold up.
Thank you.
Council, any further questions? Very good. Thank you so much for the update.
We can set these up, set them up on the side.
You're blocking it.
Right there was a little bit of an obstacle, so off to the side is
Get them
perfect.
on.
Thank you. As everybody who's been down there knows, it's a large project, very involved. And it's great to hear that we're looking at the end of the big phase that's taking place now.
Can't hear you.
Also, I think worth noting that they're being proactive to drill under Main Street this season because we know what's going on next year. I just think that sometimes we get, and rightfully so, get criticized for not thinking ahead and not planning ahead. And there's instances where people are planning ahead and appreciate that.
Very good point. Agenda item number 2, consideration of a resolution to appoint Dr. Stephen Broyles to the Wastewater Advisory Board for a 3-year term. Motion to consider, Bruce Teichler, second, Kent McCarthy, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you, Dr. Broyles. Agenda item number 3, resolution to appoint Tom Stambauer to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term to start immediately. Motion to consider, Bruce Teichler, Jackie Chapman, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you. Number 4, resolution to appoint Priscilla Manti and Thomas Kraft to the Cortland Housing Authority, starting their terms August 1st of 2021 for 2 years to run through July 31st of 2023. Motion to consider. Troy Beckwith, second. Jackie Chapman, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Agenda item number 5, resolution to allow the City of Cortland Police Department to declare all remaining bicycles that were left after the annual sale as surplus. Motion to consider. Tom Michaels, second. Kent McCarthy, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Chief, sounds like the bike sale went well. I'm glad that you're going to find a good use for the rest of the parts.
We will find a great place for them, and donate them, and we were able to put $765 towards the Vietnam Veterans Memorial reconstruction.
Very good, and the city appreciates your personal donation as well. Thank you so much. The memorials over the park are very important, and it's a very worthwhile cause. Excellent thought on your part. Agenda item number 6, resolution to approve the exotic pet permit for a baby ball python at 86 Clinton. Motion to consider. Jackie Chapman, second. Tom Michaels, discussion.
Just to provide some history regarding these types of reptiles. We had a meeting on Monday, as I mentioned at the last council meeting, that we're going to have further discussion regarding these types of reptiles, especially snakes. So we met with the mayor, legal, as well as our city clerk, and we're making some improvements to what we already have, but we haven't come up with anything concrete yet. What we're going to do is we're going to turn down this permit tonight for the following reason. One of the stipulations regarding this permit process is that if one of these reptiles reside in an apartment complex, we need written consent from the apartment owner that the individual can house these safely in their apartment. And this particular apartment owner refused to sign the consent form. Moving forward, one of the changes that we expect to propose is that these consent forms be notarized once the individual has signed them, so that it's a legal binding document. In the next month or so, we'll have some more information regarding some of the changes that are coming down the pike. But right now, I suggest that anyone that applies for these types of permits, that they're brought up to date as to what to expect, and we can put them on the agenda if they so please. But we'll have the city clerk look at each permit application and make a recommendation going forward.
I just have one clarifying question. At our last meeting, the discussion was specific to exotic pet permits for reptiles, I believe. Is that what you're speaking to specifically, or all exotic pet permits?
It's going to come down to probably all permits moving forward, just to be consistent.
Thanks for that clarification.
So at this point, we have a motion on the table, I believe, to accept this. At this point, I'd like to turn this permit down. So clarification for the public, Tom Michaels has volunteered to serve in and above by, when these exotic pet permits come in, investigate and make sure that the environment and the habitat are appropriate. And Tom has been doing this for a couple of years.
Many years.
But I appreciate your willingness to take on these questions and help us make sure that we're maintaining safe habitats for the animals and for the residents. All right, so that's Tom's recommendation. So all those in favor of allowing, your recommendation is to deny. So all those in favor of allowing, please say aye. All opposed? Nay would be appropriate. So 0-5. Motion fails. Agenda item number 7, resolution to approve the exotic pet permit for chickens at 16 Will Avenue. Motion to consider. Tom Michaels, and looking for support. Looking for a second. Kat McCarthy, discussion.
Once again, as we recap the last council meeting, that this individual had not brought these chickens to their current resting place. So to date, this individual still hasn't made that commitment yet. So we can't do an in-house inspection, as well as approve the permit at this time. I've reached out to the individual twice now. I don't know whether they're on vacation or maybe they just haven't made plans yet. But we can put this on the agenda for the next meeting and see how it turns out. Or we can wait until this individual gets a hold of me.
So recommendation would be to table it, or are you making a motion to table?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion to table, we do need a second from Bruce Teichler, and we go right to vote on the motion to table. All those in favor of tabling the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we'll consider it tabled for the next meeting.
Just to let you know, Mayor, since this has been tabled to the next
Can't hear.
Must be voted upon at the next meeting, is what the city clerk is reminding us. Thank you, Matt.
Or for the next time it comes on the agenda.
You've already set a date for the next meeting, so
Okay.
that'll be at the next meeting.
Okay.
Very good. Agenda item number 8, consideration of a resolution to appoint firefighter and CEO Roy Everett as the interim director of code enforcement. Motion to consider. Tom Michaels, second. Bruce Teichler, discussion.
Roy certainly has the experience in that office, and it's well inside the choice from Kevin Freeman.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Roy, congratulations.
Thank you.
Would you like to say a couple words? Very good. Well, I'll say it on your behalf. Roy has been serving in the code department, and it's not just a matter of qualifications, which Tom, you accurately pointed out, but it's also a passion and a recognition of the importance of code work and how it can lend to the safety of our community, our residents, our structures, and Roy, your passion has been duly noted and much appreciated, and we're confident that you are going to continue to serve well in a leadership capacity. So thank you for being willing to take this on.
Thank you, Mayor.
Agenda item number 9, resolution to appoint Nicole Bennett as a Commissioner of Deeds for the City of Cortland. Motion to consider. Jackie Chapman, second. Tom Michaels, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Number 10, resolution to name the city as lead agency for the Gateway Homer Avenue project. Motion to consider. Bruce Teichler, second. Kat McCarthy, discussion. There's been some questions about this, and way back in 2011, the city, we started looking at Homer Avenue and the work that could take place and the potential there. If you've not been down there, there's some buildings that are underutilized, to say it lightly. And when you exit the city and you go farther north through the town of Cortlandville and then into the village of Homer, we saw that there was an opportunity not just for the city, but all 3 municipalities to potentially collaborate and work together. So we actually did pull together. Toma Development helped to anchor it. From the city, Ken Dye, who was deputy mayor at the time, thank him for his work because he represented us well. There was representation from the town and from the village. And the report was issued in 2013 about some improvements that could be made. And it's taken a couple of years, but I think we're ready to look and say, hey, this is an area of the city that we can re-envision, reimagine, and develop. And it's not going to benefit just the city, but the 2 communities that lie slightly to the north as well. And that's going to benefit everybody. So I'm excited to see this going forward. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Number 11, resolution to authorize the submission of Homer Avenue infrastructure upgrades grant applications. Motion to consider. Troy Beckwith, second. Kat McCarthy, discussion. Is there anything that we wanted to present, or, I mean, we're talking about grant applications, so typically we...
Talking about grant applications for the CFA round that's open now, they're due July 30th. 2 separate resolutions
Should be up here.
I'm going to ask Scott Murdo to come up. Scott has been a consultant that has been working with the city on a couple of projects. And Scott, if you can be close to the microphone, this will be good for posterity as well.
Yep, no problem. So the program we're gonna approach, much like we did Clinton Avenue. The Clinton Avenue program has 6 different funding agencies. We went out and looked at every opportunity to separate the project and fund separate portions of the project through the different agencies. So you have 2 separate proposals on there. The one is for the Empire State Development, the GIGP, which is the Green Infrastructure Grant Program, the Local Waterfront Revitalization Program, and the Water Quality Program, Improvement Program. So the Green Infrastructure Program will pay for 100% of the aspects of the project that are green infrastructure, like your bioretention, your stormwater drainage, your porous pavement, if we approach that like we did in portions of the Clinton Avenue. The water quality improvement, kind of along the same lines, a portion of that grant. But that program will be a 75% grant ask. That's your stormwater infrastructure and your wastewater infrastructure to improve the collection system. And the Climate Smart is the separate resolution. You have to identify the amount. The $2 million grant is the max. That's what we received on Clinton Avenue. And those covered your top portions of the project, like your sidewalks, your bike lanes, the paving. So they're all portions of the project that are going to have to be done. We've just separated them out in different applications to try to maximize your grant dollars like we did on Clinton Avenue. So.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but first of all, I think this is a fantastic plan. I know it's going to take some years, and this is just the first step. But this really isn't the first step, because years ago, the IDA BDC cleaned up a junkyard at that exit. And we talk about the gateway to Cortland. That really was the first impression many people had. And if folks wanted to clean that up and make that part of the gateway, so that in fact, that now all these years later, to take another step is fantastic. I didn't know if you knew the history of what used to be there and what it used to look like.
Matt did provide us 3 or 4 past reports that identify, like Brian said, the 2015 report, but also the LWRP plan for the local waterfront revitalization and some other areas there that you've looked at and improving over the years, so we can incorporate those into the state likes to see that you're basing these projects on previous plans, so you should have some planning work in there that's been done in the past to strengthen that you're building it off of previous projects.
So I think a lot of people in the community, or a lot of folks that work pretty hard at getting that junkyard cleaned up, so I'm sure they'll be happy to see that the vision is continuing, even though it's taking longer than we hope. So just wanted to see if you knew about the past history of that accident.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Agenda item number 11, resolution to authorize the submission of Homer Avenue infrastructure upgrades grant applications. Number 12, consideration of a resolution to authorize the submission of a Climate Smart grant application for the Homer Avenue infrastructure upgrades. Motion to consider. Bruce Stetler, second. Tom Michaels, discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries. Agenda item number 13, we have discussion on liquid petroleum tanks. There's a specific request that has come to the city, but I've asked council to step back from a specific request and to talk in general about the potential for above ground liquid petroleum tanks. And I believe there's information shared with you from Ray, the zoning officer, and some other information. So council, in terms of the discussion, right now we don't allow, and the request is to, and I wanted to get your feedback and thoughts, so I'll just open the floor.
I still think that, we made these changes years ago. Many of you, we remember the above-ground fuel tanks that the city did away with years ago. One was located on Court Street. There's another one that was located on the gateway going into Homer. white oil. These tanks prevented hazards, presented the potential for groundwater contamination. Even though LP tanks are different, still safety is, I think, is number one when it comes to placing these in an area where we're spending millions in the Gateway project to vitalize that area and grow it with restaurants, hotels. And this is just my thought. And some other individuals have also shared that information with me as well.
A little bit more reluctant to establish presence to allow them.
That's correct. Being that they were that close to 81, there's another potential issue.
I'll get it eventually there, Mr. Bennett. It'll come back to me. I think Tom makes a good point, especially when I look at all the work we're doing on the Gateway and that side of the city, what we want to do on the other side of the city, and the revitalization program that we're hoping to bring to downtown next year. I mean, we're really working hard here in Portland. A lot of good things are happening. We're making the community look better, and looking more modern. And I agree with what you're saying. I think something like that would not necessarily add to that aesthetics and all the other safety things we're putting in place. I think you make a good point.
I tend to agree with what you guys are saying, but I think certainly if there might be some other opportunities within the city that certainly might justify looking at this. I definitely understand what you're saying with the hotels and stuff, and the new upgrades and gateway and all that. But I just think it's something that should be looked at. The safety of these things today are 1,000 times better than it used to be, or not even more. So I just think it's something this individual or anybody else find a better location that maybe we should take a look at. Obviously, we gotta change the zoning.
I think that's also a valid point, Troy.
And also, industrial spots around that can be utilized. Sure. Not, residential being that close to them, so.
Yeah.
I think we should make recommendations to this individual or company that find alternate locations. Certainly would be willing to discuss it.
I would not be opposed to that. I'm just concerned with the economy, what you're saying, location is really important. What we're doing right now speaks for itself, and what we're trying to do when people come into our city, especially for the first time, and say, wow, this is a pretty shepherd from the community. So let's keep moving in that direction. But I do agree there are probably areas in the city that they might be allowed to under the right conditions. So
Yeah, I think the location is not part of there, and I'm not.
So council might be open to the concept of the question of zoning and where, based upon zoning, would be appropriate.
And that health and safety, I think, is a really important concern for that. I know that was some of the information that we shared with us, was just making sure that any particular location that we use, that we take that into consideration.
Yeah, we definitely have to let them, I know, I looked in a little bit, a lot of these places, you're 1,000 feet away from residents, or, something like that. That'll all have to be addressed.
All right, so moving forward, recommendation, potential public hearing at the next meeting to see if people from the public would like to weigh in. And also on the agenda for discussion again. And if there are any thoughts or questions regarding zoning or anything else, feel free to reach out to myself or Bob Ray, the zoning officer, and we can potentially put together some suggestions in terms of what might make sense. Any other thoughts? Good. Number 14 is labeled as a discussion item, but We've already taken some action. We've taken one step and looking to make a second. Discussion on a deputy superintendent in the Department of Public Works and looking at a salary range of $60,000 to $72,000. There is a job description that's set by civil service. I'm going to go and make this consideration of a resolution. Hiring freeze was lifted, so consideration of a resolution to allow the hiring of an individual for the position of Deputy Superintendent in Public Works with a salary range of $60,000 to $72,000. So first off, we have a motion to consider. Bruce Teitler, second. Jackie Chapman, discussion, and Nick. There, Nick Dovey, the Superintendent of Public Works, is present, and I think he might be able to answer a couple of questions.
Good evening, everybody. I know I sent you a plethora of information over the last week. Job descriptions, some numbers, some suggestions. Do you folks have any questions on the material I sent or something that I haven't thought of at this point? You know what, one thing I did leave out of this narrative that I think is a positive in trying to fill this position is I'm sitting here listening to all these grant initiatives that we're involved in, and I know that we are able to bill a portion of my time and the deputy superintendent's time to a lot of these projects. I think last year, just the WIFIA was a couple other employees as well. Maximum max time, I think it was upwards to $180,000. So I tried to place the salary range where I thought we'd get some good candidates to help us on some of these initiatives without breaking the bank.
No, I have to agree with Nick on some of this. As we get more and more involved in these infrastructure projects, a lot of this work now is being done by our DPW department. And the fact that we're going from basically a maintenance department to a construction, pretty much. And we need some experience along those lines.
I don't have any questions then because I don't have any questions, Dick. I thought you dealt with it really well, and it's just really detailed and laid it out. It's just a matter of what we can afford.
Sure.
That to me is all it comes down to. Everything else I agree 100% with.
No further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you, Nick. And agenda item number 15. This is a discussion, so Christian, if you want to start getting set up. Discussion on a zoning, request for a zoning change from R2 to general business 2. And it is a 50-foot by 53-foot landlocked piece of property, tax map number 87.53-3-16.2 to the northwest of the proposed Burn Dairy project site on the northwest corner of Fort Watson Street and River Street in the city of Cortland. So there's 3 different city entities that are involved in terms of the process, the approval process for this. There's the Planning Commission, there's the Zoning Board of Appeals, and City Council. And at one point, in order for there to be a zoning change of a portion of a parcel, that comes to council. So the only thing that will be asked of council is whether or not you are willing to consider the changing of one parcel from R2 to general business 2. We've got representatives from Burn Dairy that are here to answer questions if council has questions.
Are you going to ask us for a recommendation tonight to take action on this?
We put it on for discussion, and being a little late in terms of number of council, I think it does make sense to have discussion We had the public hearing at the start of the meeting, potentially have a second public hearing, and at some point bringing it forward when council feels is appropriate.
Just how'd that piece ever get missed? No,
Want me to raise that for you, or you're good?
Why not, necessary got transferred years ago then.
Can I chime in here real quick? We did some
You
research.
can introduce
Yeah,
yourself to
sorry.
the crowd.
Good evening, Christian Brown, Vice President of Burn Dairy, and with me tonight I have Aaron Brown from Burn Dairy as well. We did some quick research with abstracts and whatnot. It appears back in as far back as 27 years ago, that little piece up in that corner there was in the same ownership. How it got missed is a good question. So for 27 years at least, it was sold again in the mid-2000s to the Law family, as everyone knows, used as a Honda dealership, CNY Sports, car wash, and the parcels have been sold together. Both the corner parcel, 222 to 226, and the little tiny parcel. They were sold again in the mid-2000s to the Law family. You can see, I just wanted to give you guys some quick aerials down low. In here, you can see the corner right here, and also over here. That parcel has exclusively been used with the corner parcel for, again, 27 years. It did not go with the two-family home, which is right here. That is part of the project as well, but you can see there's actually a fence. The whole CNY Reynolds parcel is fenced in together, those two parcels. So it's very clear that those two parcels have been together for forever. It was shocking to me when we looked at the project as well. All three parcels were for sale by the same ownership. It was shocking when I did look at the zoning and realized that a 50 by 53 piece was zoned R2 and not GB. It doesn't even have an address to it. So.
There had to be one Dave Ballou on there.
Yes, that is correct. That's what his name was on it. Yep. And you can see all the different colors on the zoning map. I'm sure you guys are aware of it. Surrounding all over here is GB2, and to the west is GB2 as well. And across the street, everyone knows across the street, there's a car wash and other commercial. I did also speak with County Legislator Richard Stock, who did send an email, I believe, to the members of the council, and he is in support of he said he has talked to some of his constituents. They're in favor of it as well. And I don't know if I need to read this, and I think it was put into the record. I probably won't read it in, but he didn't have a comment that was sent in today in favor of this. I did sit down with him, meet with him on July 9th. He reviewed the site plan that I have proposed in front of the planning board and ZBA. He thought it was a well thought out plan. I also reviewed the zone change with him, explained the same thing I just explained to all the council members here, and he thought it made sense. And he did put that in writing to the council. Also received a letter from a neighbor to the south who owns the car wash in support of the zone change and the project and the revitalization of the area. And I added that into the record as well.
Council, any questions for Mr. Brunel?
I think I'd like to hear from the planning board on some more of this before we put the horse before the cart.
Aaron, could you just flip that board over real quick? I'd just like to show the members as well the portion that this involves in the site. See this corner right here? That is the corner. So this is the site plan that's before the planning board and the ZBA. There was copies sent here, but you can see this small corner portion here. That is the in question zone change parcel. You can see it's going to house the dumpster enclosure and maybe 2 or 3 parking spaces. The building is not in that area. Okay, just to put it in perspective. The Law family. Yeah. And also to address the traffic earlier, if you don't want to hear this, but I have already received conceptual approval from the New York State Department of Transportation, Central New York region, from an engineer in regards to the driveway right here along Port Watson.
I am reducing 4 curb cuts that are currently on there along Fort Watson here, approximately 231 foot of frontage. There's 4 curb cuts there now. It has this conceptual plan, or this is the final plan actually, but that plan was sent to them. They have responded in writing. That is on record as well as a conceptual approval of that one driveway. The county, state DOT loves it when you can reduce 4 drives into one. It helps with traffic flow, traffic congestion as well. River Street has approximately, it's a free-for-all over there. There's 3 or 4 just impervious surface the whole way. There's really no distinct curb cuts. So as you can see, we are utilizing, as far away from the intersection as possible, one driveway there. So essentially you're going from 7 drives to 2 on this parcel. The parcel is 1.06 acres in total.
The DOT mentioned any kind of a traffic study?
They did not require one.
Did not require one, or one, yes?
They would ask, the way it works is I send them a conceptual plan, they look at it, they know the project, they look at the traffic counts, they respond back with their comments. They will not give me a determination if conceptual approval, if they want a traffic study, they'll say we request a traffic study. They will not give me a conceptual approval until they have one, if they want to require it. They did not require one.
I'm kind of surprised because when I proposed the walk, don't walk signals at the corner of Fort Watson and
Tom, can you use your microphone?
when I proposed the walk, don't walk traffic signals at the corner of Kellogg and Fort Watson several years ago, that they did recommend a traffic study there. And that was long before we have the traffic that we do now. This is about 10 years ago. I would like to see a traffic study done again.
You said it was 1.7 acres, the
1.06.
1.06?
Yes,
Okay.
just over an acre.
This may be an odd question, but in comparison to other very recently built burns, I'm thinking of the one in Homer, the one in Lafayette, how does that compare in size? It's just an acreage, it's a lot smaller.
Okay,
isn't it?
so it's almost like you put me up to this. I do have a note here. The one in Homer that I just opened last January, everyone knows where that one is. That is 2.3 acres. The one in Ithaca, if everyone knows the one I bought in Ithaca and opened, is the former Denny's, that is 0.99 acres. Okay, the one, I know it's not around here, but I'm currently building one as we speak. It will open August 11th in the town of Greece on the corner of Maiden, Festner Ave. That is 1.12 acres, so 1.1 acres. I'm building one currently in the city of Elmira, which will open in mid-September. We broke ground, put tanks in the ground. That is 1.3 acres. So you can see very similar sizes, especially within a city limits like that. City of Elmira, 1.3. Greece is a very lot more traffic on this corner. That's 1.1. And again, Ithaca, everyone knows where Ithaca is, right? I mean the location. That's 0.99. So that's smaller than this site. Homer's kind of, it's a large site, but again, Homer was a zone change as well. That just happened to be the 3 parcels I bought, just happened to be 2.3 acres.
That's the largest of your locations.
I'm sorry?
That's the largest of your locations?
That's not the largest locations, no, that is not. These are the most recent locations that I'm doing.
What's the largest location?
Largest location would be town of Lafayette. My Lafayette location, that is 7 acres. That has no public water, no sewer. That's the entire site, 7 acres. We don't cover 7 acres, but
Yeah.
what was for sale was 7 acres.
Okay.
But I needed that for septic and well separation. It's huge.
Council, any further discussion this evening? Very good. Christian, thank you for coming in and presenting and being able to answer some questions.
Awesome.
Sounds
Thank
like-
you very much. Any questions, feel free, everyone can reach out to me. I think everyone's got my cell phone number. I'll share any information I have with you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. In terms of our formal agenda, I'm going to ask council two things for us to discuss. I apologize for not asking at the beginning. One would be our meeting protocols, and then the last would be for us to adjourn into an executive session for an update on contractual negotiations, and we do not anticipate action coming out of that. But first up would be talking about meeting protocols. So everybody who is in attendance, this may not be visible to people at home, but everybody in the gallery is currently masked, and I recognize the inconvenience and the difficulty. And we also asked council members proof of vaccination and then being able to go without a mask if so choose. And I think it's important for us to remember that even the most effective vaccinations are 90% effective. And the way the room has been set up, there are spots where 28 people can sit 6 feet apart, socially distanced. There's little X's, so everybody in the gallery, you turn, you look around behind you, there's a little X on the bench. These are public meetings, and limiting to 28 people in terms of department heads, people who are presenting, and the general public would be burdensome in my mind. So we wanted to make sure that we were giving as many people from the general public the opportunity to attend in person as who would choose to do so. Again, though, we're balancing the fact that even the more effective vaccines at a 90% efficacy rate, you can be vaccinated and still potentially get it. So we need to be cautious, and we need to be diligent, and we need to be safe first and foremost. So we're trying to walk a line here where we are making sure we are an open public body, and we are doing the public's business in the public eye, and we are allowing as many people as we can to attend. Numbers in the community in terms of vaccinations, I've not, quite frankly, been excited about. I think we should be much farther along as a county, and probably as a city. I don't know what the city numbers are broken out, because we're not getting that statistic, but for us to get to a point where, as a community, we are much safer, we need more people to get vaccinated, quite frankly. But these public meetings, council, we can discuss. How would you like to move forward in terms of the next meeting? Because my recommendation would be to do the same for the first meeting in August as what we are doing today. And I'm vaccinated, I'm wearing a mask because I think this is not just role modeling, it's also about keeping the people to my left and my right a little bit safer. And I don't know if it's going to be 100% effective, but if I think it's going to help a little bit, I'm doing it. So council, thoughts?
I would agree with that course of action, continuing as we currently are. I think, with the indoor spaces, and we do have fans going right now, but I think ventilation is a little bit different indoors from outdoors. And I think erring on the side of caution is a better idea than not.
Well, we have two colleagues that have certain circumstances that we need to consider to protect your health. Kat is one, and the other one is not present tonight because of she's got something else going on. But with that being said, right now this room is a comfortable size. I don't know what we would do if it was doubled regarding participation. I don't think we're large enough to accommodate any more than what we have right now.
And I agree with the two of you. I am vaccinated completely, but to Aaron, we don't know everything about everything, and because of the vaccination rate in this vicinity, it's still out there, and so I choose to wear a mask for others, especially if you have contact with young children.
All right, so council, if we are comfortable with how the meeting ran today, then we can plan on the same for next meeting. That does not mean that we won't make changes. If there is some discussion, if there's different ideas, open to suggestions. This is new territory, but it does feel good to be back in a room with people and working three-dimensionally. And it's a lot easier to interact and to really get a feel for things when we are seeing each other in person. So I appreciate the fact that you've all been willing to meet in person, come back together, and everybody who is here in attendance, thank you as well, because it's getting back to some normalcy. Last thing, council, can we entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss contractual matters? Motion by Bruce Keitler, second Jackie Chapman.
And one litigation item, Mayor.
Oh. Contractual negotiations and one litigation matter. No partridge, no pear tree. All those in favor of adjourning into executive session, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? We do not anticipate taking action when we return, and I expect us to be out shortly. Thank you for your patience.
That's a night?
Stay connected. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.